All right, let's jump right into this explainer and completely, totally dismantle the traditional financial advice you've been fed your entire life. Seriously, if you've ever had that nagging feeling that the standard roadmap to success is missing a massive shortcut, well, you're absolutely in the right place.
So let me ask you a pretty provocative question right off the bat. Do you really want to trade your vibrant, energetic youth for a quote-unquote wealthy retirement spent in a wheelchair? Like, do you genuinely want to sacrifice 50 years of your most active adult life to some mind-numbing routine just for the extremely slim hope of living comfortably in your twilight years? Sounds kind of crazy when you put it like that, right? Today, we're unpacking M.J. DeMarco's deeply contrarian source material, The Millionaire Fastlane. And let me tell you, this text aggressively shatters the ingrained illusions of traditional wealth building. The author argues that the standard financial advice we all hear is actually a trap. So today, we're going to break down exactly why he believes that, and more importantly, what the alternative actually looks like.
Okay, moving into Section 1, The Great Deception, or the Get-Rich-Slow Trap.
DeMarco calls this baseline programming the Great Deception. Take a look at this list. Go to school, get a safe job, save 10%, max out their 401k, clip coupons, and eventually retire rich at 65. I guarantee you've been taught this exact mandate by your parents, your teachers, and basically every financial guru out there. The mainstream prognosticators absolutely demand you follow this path. But the text asks a super vital question here. Show me the 22-year-old who got rich investing in mutual funds or clipping coupons, right? They literally don't exist. This path asks you to wager your life and your time as a massive gamble. It's a plan that only pays dividends after the vast majority of your life has already evaporated.
Which brings us to Section 2, the Lamborghini Awakening and a very specific 90-second encounter.
So a single 90-second encounter completely broke the conditioning of that great deception for the author. Picture this, standing in the freezing cold of Chicago, a young, out-of-shape DeMarco finds himself staring at his absolute dream car, a mythic Lamborghini Countach. When the owner finally walks out, DeMarco is stunned. The guy couldn't have been more than 25 years old, wearing jeans and an Iron Maiden t-shirt. DeMarco was expecting some old guy, or maybe a famous athlete, you know? Gathering his courage, he just flat out asked the young man what he did for a living. And the answer was just 3 simple words. I'm an inventor.
That simple answer completely revolutionized his reality. I mean, it proved that escaping financial mediocrity early in life is entirely possible for an average person. You don't need a golden voice, you definitely don't need a $70 million jump shot, and you don't need to win the lottery. Fast wealth can actually be engineered.
All right, let's look at Section 3. Wealth is a process, not an event. To understand how that young inventor actually pulled it off, we really have to grasp that wealth is never just a lucky break. Think of it like baking a cake. If you just throw a bunch of flour and sugar into a bowl, you don't magically get a cake, right? Society constantly glorifies the tasty event of wealth. You know, the multi-million-dollar buyout or the flashy car, but it completely ignores the grueling process. And the process? That's the long, lonely nights coding in a dark garage, the massive debt, the 4 a.m. practices, the multiple brutal business failures. Without that grueling process, the event literally never happens.
And that leads us right into Section 4, the sidewalk to poorness, or the illusion of wealth.
See, when people try to just skip that difficult process and jump straight to the flashy event, they fall into a massive trap known as the sidewalk. Shockingly, data from the text shows that 61% of all income earners make under $35,000 a year. But wait, look around our streets. You see luxury cars and VIP lifestyles everywhere? Now, unless there's some secret society of extremely well-paid baristas that we don't know about, the math just doesn't add up. It turns out a huge portion of that lifestyle is just a mirage. It's funded entirely by debt.
As DeMarco points out with this brilliant quote, you can look filthy rich and still be riding the sidewalk dirty. Because whether you make $20,000 as a cashier or $2 million as a professional athlete, if you're spending more than you earn, you are on the sidewalk. You're basically an illusionist living exactly one paycheck or one failed album away from total disaster. Money alone just doesn't cure poor financial management.
So the crucial point here is the sidewalker's wealth equation. On the sidewalk, your wealth is simply your income plus whatever debt you can possibly leverage. Every single dime of income and available credit is burned just to maintain an unsustainable image. It is literally living at the financial red line. Any minor bump in the road, a recession, a sudden job loss, a medical bill, and the whole thing is going to crash. Let's pivot here to Section 5,
defining true wealth, going beyond the illusion. To actually escape this terrifying trap, the text argues that we must step away from society's incredibly toxic obsession with designer clothes and VIP bottle service. This classic quote from Henry David Thoreau captures it perfectly. Wealth is the ability to fully experience life. True wealth isn't about buying a Bentley just to impress strangers at a stoplight. It's deeply personal. It is about having the unrestricted ability to experience life on your own terms, without being indentured to a paycheck.
DeMarco breaks this down into what he calls the wealth trinity: family, fitness, and freedom. Real wealth means having strong relationships and community. It means having the health, the vibrancy, and the energy to actually enjoy your days. And above all, it's having the freedom of choice to live how, when, and where you want. Think about it. You can have a mega mansion and a massive six-figure salary, but if you've completely ruined your health from stress and you never see your family because you're always working just to pay for that mansion, you aren't rich. You are completely, functionally bankrupt. Okay, moving on to our final section, Section 6, Buying Freedom, Not Stuff.
Let's take a look at how our daily purchases directly impact that ultimate goal of total freedom. The biggest trap you can fall into is lifestyle servitude. Look at these steps. Work creates income. Income creates lifestyle and debt. And then lifestyle and debt force more work. When you finance a lifestyle just to look wealthy, buying things on credit, upgrading your car the second you get a raise, you lock yourself right into this vicious cycle. You are effectively sentencing yourself to a lifetime in a cubicle just to pay off your toys. You're trading your actual freedom for just stuff.
If you have to think about affordability, you can't afford it. Ouch, right? We so often trick ourselves into thinking we can afford something if we can just scrape by and manage the monthly payment. But DeMarco argues that true affordability means paying in cash without it causing a single ripple in your lifestyle or forcing you into servitude. Basically, if you have to sit down and calculate if you can survive a job loss after buying that boat, you absolutely cannot afford the boat.
So, I'm going to leave you with this final provocative thought to ponder as you look at your own financial roadmap moving forward. Every single time you open your wallet, I want you to ask yourself this question. Are your purchases buying freedom, or are they funding your own servitude? Are you building the process that leads to true wealth, or are you just buying another link in the chain that keeps you tied to a desk? Thanks for joining me on this explainer. I really hope this gives you a powerful, totally new lens through which to view your financial future.